Everybody, and welcome to Slowpoke Racing and to the Ultimate Racing League, sponsored by Eldridge Air Conditioning. Apologies for the buzzing in the background, if you can hear it. My son's decided to jump in the shower just as I'm starting this stream. So, yeah, if you can hear it, sorry. If not, then fantastic. This is League 2 of our Wednesday Championship in the Super Formula Series. The Formula 1 lookalikes, whatever you want to call them. Whichever way you look at it, they are extremely quick cars. Been a fantastic season so far, completely dominated by a PM10, who I think, I've just been trying to have a quick look through the previous races, and I think he's won every race he's taken part in, and he's won it by a long way. So, completely dominated it, as I've said. However, there is quite a nice little battle hotting up behind him. Now then, a couple of people missing today. We do only have, I think it's 10 or 11 on the grid. And some noticeable differences in grid drivers. YT is back. He missed last week, but he's back on the grid. Panic at the Tesco is not racing today, so he was about the closest we could get to PM10. So Panic at the Tesco is not racing. However, there are a couple of others that have been making some good results. Dan is in there. RJS is in there. Grahamid is in there as well. Pete is in there. So, yeah, this is shaping up to be a good race. We are over in Italy, and we're at Monza, Autodromo Nazionale Monza. 3.6 miles, 11 turns, and 3 chicanes on this one. It's a pretty quick track, actually. It's one of the fastest tracks in Europe, just outside the city of Monza, north of Milan. So, excuse me. I do apologise. Got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning. So, yes, we'll have a look down the grid, shall we, as normal. And then we'll get this race underway. So, as expected, it is PM10 on pole position. And, well, yeah, we expected nothing less, really, did we? Dan just behind him in second, and RJS is third. Now, this is a carbon copy of last week's start with PM10, Dan and RJS taking up the top 3 spots on the grid last week at Watkins, I believe it was. Then we've got P. White in 4th. We've got Pete in 5th. We've got YT, as I say, back on the grid. He missed last week, but he's back this week and he's put himself on 6th. Grahamid is in 7th. Kian is 8th. 9th is Steele, Rufus 10th, and Vane 11th. So, yeah, a few people missing. As I say, most notable, I suppose, is Panic at the Tesco, which would be PM10's closest rival at the minute. So let's get this race underway, shall we? 50 minutes of racing ahead of us. All 3 tyre compounds have to be used. That's the softs, mediums, and hards. I very much doubt it's going to rain as Dan forgets to get started there. Or he gets tangled up. I think it was with RJS. So Dan, or was it Pete? No, it was Pete. I think, yeah, Dan. Very poor start from Dan. And it is PM10 that leads us into the first chicane. RJ has moved up into second. YT, good start from him, up into third. Pete into fourth. P. White fifth. Then Grahamid, Vane, Kian. Dan already down to 9th after that disastrous start off the line. Rufus in 10th, followed by Steele in 11th. As they all come streaming up through turn 3, up towards the second of the chicanes at turns 4 and 5, and PM10 leads everybody through there, and gaps already starting to appear now, about a car length apart between the top 5 or 6, so the battle is taking place at the back there. Vane has made his way up into 7th as Rufus and Dan both go very wide. Oh, and Rufus has decided to take out some of the track markers. Let's have a look what's happened there. Not the start that Rufus wanted as we approach the second of the chicanes at turns 4 and 5. We've got Steele just behind us. Well, he seems to get through there okay. Kian, well, he made a right horse's doodah of that one, didn't he? But through turn 6 we go, and there we go. Rufus out onto the gravel, onto the grass. Excuse me, really fighting that car. I just cannot get it under control. And there we go, up against Barrier, facing the wrong way. And, well, that's a long way back now for Rufus, isn't it? Oh, he's really struggling. Let's get back up there and see what's happening up at the top. Now, I don't think there'll be a safety car called, I'm not sure, but there was only one car gone off, so I very much doubt it'll be a safety car as PM10 carries on going, already opening up a gap back to RJS in second. He's got Whitey just behind him in third, then Pete, then P White. Vane up to 6, a good start for Vane on this opening lap, he'll be pleased with that. Grahamid in 7th, just trying to keep in touch with Vane. Grahamid on the hard tyres, we'll have a check of the other tyres in a second. Then we've got Steele, Kian, Dan after that, well, really disastrous start. I can't really say anything more, it was just an absolute disastrous opening lap for Dan, and now finds himself down in 10th. And a little gap actually between himself and Kian. And then poor old Rufus, well, it's a big old ask now. He's having to really thump that overtake button, isn't he? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I've just had something pop up on the laptop that didn't look at all healthy for the laptop. So let's have a look at the tyres, shall we? So PM10 decided to start on the medium tyres. RJS also going for the medium tyres, so those two could be on the same strategy. YT, well, he's gone for the mediums as well. So, oh, and who's that? That's Pete. Pete has got turn 7 wrong. We're going to have a quick look and see what happened to Pete. He was having a good race, wasn't he? Come on, Mark, put the right camera. He was having a good race. There we go. And around turn 6 is okay. Into turn 7, oh, he just went too wide into the turn, didn't he? He just left the turn too late. And he's come around facing the wrong way. Now he's going to have to try and get back on track without causing too much hassle to everybody else as the rest of the pack goes screaming through. Excuse me. So Steele and Kian capitalising on that. So poor old Pete demoted to the back of the pack as Dan goes through as well. So there's only Rufus behind him. Now then, we were looking at the tyres, weren't we? Where did we get to? P White is on the hards. P White currently in 4th position at the minute, and well, I'm not going to put the curse on it, but looking okay, running the hard tyres. Grahamid just behind him, also on the hard tyres, although he's coming under attack from Vane. Vane is on the mediums, and side by side as they come out of Parabolica, and it looks like Vane has got the job done. He surely should as well, actually, on those medium tyres as Grahamid fights back, but Vane is on the inside. I wish the cameraman would keep up. And Vane gets his nose in front as they approach turn 1 into the chicane. They go hard onto those brakes, get this right-hander, and then immediately into the left-hander, and Vane and Grahamid through there very cleanly. Old Kian goes very deep and onto the kitty litter. Kian got that one all sorts of wrong, didn't he? And that's cost him. Dan now trying to make his way back up through the grid as Kian now drops down to 10th just behind Pete, although he is pushing hard to try and get that place back. He's on the soft tyres, is Kian, and that is not where you want to be, back there in P10 on the soft tyres. So Kian just needs to take a deep breath, I think he's pushing a bit too hard, really. He needs, oh, and he's gone off again. He really is having a bit of a struggle on this track here in Monza. So Kian, I think he just needs to take a bit of a breath, and oh dear, it is such a struggle. It's just not turning, is it? Now, whether he's got some issues with that car, we're not sure, but he's definitely fighting it, isn't he? And then we've got Rufus. Well, Rufus is catching Kian up, actually, but I'm not surprised with the mistakes that Kian's making. So Rufus, again, just needs to take a deep breath and just get on with his racing, really. So let's have a look at the fast lap, shall we? Fastest man on track at the minute, as expected, is PM10 with a 132.0. I'm expecting that to come down as well when he gets back onto the softs. But PM10 leading the way, as he usually does. Nice big gap opening up, which is exactly how he likes to run these races. Get a big gap, come into the pits, get back out, probably in P2, maybe back in front, and lead from the front all the way. It must get very lonely for him, unless he's got the radio on or something like that. Maybe his race director's playing him some sort of radio tunes through his earpiece, keep him going. RJS in second, good start for him. We're on lap 4. We're on the medium tyres, and he's already sitting in second. He has got YT behind him, but YT, well, I think that gap's just being maintained, isn't it? between the two of them, but I think Whitey will be quite happy to just sit there for a bit. If he could get a little bit closer, obviously it would be better, because he can use the slipstream then and probably save a little bit of fuel. And you can see the overtake hook glowing a little bit red there as he came out of Ascari, just to give the car a little bit of a boost to get it up to top speed again. And we're just going to follow Whitey around Parabolica at turn 11 and looking at the start finish line to start lap 5. We've got RJ in front, RJ trying to break the slipstream. You can see him moving to the left and to the right of the track, just trying to break any kind of toe that he's giving to Whitey. P. White in 4th. Now, let's see if we can find a battle where we can jump on board with somebody, shall we? As Pete tries to put a challenge into Dan. Now, Peter's got himself on the inside as they come up towards turn 1. Now, one of them's going to have to give in, isn't it? And it looks, as Pete gets it all wrong. And that's cost him. He should have backed out. I'm sorry, Pete. I think what you should have done there, Dan's just got his nose slightly in front, and I think, to be honest, Pete, he should have just backed out to avoid the accident. He's had to cut across turn 1, and that's cost him. He's straight out on there onto the grass and the kitty litter and all sorts, so dirty tyres for him. Down to 9th. Steele said thank you very much as he gives him a wave as he goes through. So Pete now down to 9th. Steele having a fantastic race, up to 8th on the hard tyres as well. Now they have to do a minimum, I think it is, of 2 laps on these hard tyres, but some of the guys choosing to just go a little bit further into the race on them. As we just see Kian in the background there with a penalty, so he would have picked that up at the first chicane. It is quite a penalty trap, that one. We were looking for a fight, weren't we? Let's have a look and see if we can. As Whitey's gone off. This race has got everything so far. Whitey sitting in 3rd and looking very comfortable on the medium tyres. He wasn't really putting RJ under any kind of pressure. He's got no pressure himself, and it's just as we come through Ascari. And, he just forgot to turn, didn't he? So that may be a disconnect, to be fair, to Whitey. He just seemed to just carry on driving straight forward. Well, let's hope whatever it is, he's got it sorted. It has cost him a place as P. White moves through up and into P3, Whitey into 4th, and he's now falling into the clutches of Vane and Grahamid. Whitey's got damage at the front, so we've just got to wait for that to get it self-repaired. There we go, it's done. So let's jump on board with Vane, shall we? As, well, do you know what, I'm going to use this view. I don't like that other view with the halo thing in the way. So into turn 1, onto the brakes. Vane says no thank you very much, I just don't want to challenge you into that chicane. The only problem with this view is I can't quite see behind us. If we have a look in the mirrors, we can just about make Grahamid out there. That little red dot in the right hand mirror of Vane's car, but Vane is definitely catching up to the back of Whitey as they come through turn 3 up towards turn 4 and 5, which is the second chicane. Try to avoid those sausage curbs, and nice and cleanly done through there for Vane. Having a fantastic race, isn't he? In through turn 6. We might as well stay on board with Vane. We like to do a lap, don't we? So we'll stay on board. Into turn 7, and then it is back onto the, back onto the noisy pedal all the way down towards Ferranti Ascari, which is the 3rd of the chicanes at turns 8, 9 and 10. This left, then right, then left again, just using as much of the track as you possibly can. Now I think Vane has just lost touch of Whitey just a little bit. I think he's broke that slipstream, although it doesn't like he's creeping back up again as we come down towards Parabolica at turn 11 for the final time then on this lap 6, and Vane back on the power again and across the start finish line for a 1:34.2, so a little bit off the pace at the minute, but that was a lap with Vane, so thank you very much for taking us through that. And yeah, having a good race so far. Grahamid catching up very quickly, and he's got Dan all over him. Dan trying to recover his race. Disastrous start for him, dropped him all the way to the back of the pack, but he's fighting back. He's got himself up to 7th. He's just behind Grahamid, and he is on the hard tyres. Then we've got Pete in 8th, also had a bit of an issue earlier on. Steele in 9th. And Steele trying to go around the outside of Pete as they come towards the chicane and gets the job done as well. That was a fantastic move from Steele. To be fair, I think Pete may have just backed out a little bit as they came into that chicane, but nevertheless, that was a good ballsy move from Steele. And yeah, definitely made of steel, aren't they? Oh, Pete has got it wrong again at turn 7 now then. Was it Pete last time that got turn 7 wrong? Look at the smoke coming off those tyres as he tries to get the power back down again. And turn 7 really is starting to cause a few issues for people, isn't it? I thought it'd be the second chicane. Why have we got a yellow flag? Oh no, who's that that's gone off? It is Dan. Oh, he was having such a good recovery. Oh, as he as Pete comes around and comes exit of Ascari, and Dan was almost sideways across the track, so it was a bad exit out of Ascari Verante for Dan, who sees him all the way back down in 11th. He was having such a good recovery as well, but pushing too hard. Now down in 11th with a bit of a gap, and it's all to do again for Dan. PM10 out in front though, under no real pressure, no pressure at all, never mind any real pressure, he's under no pressure at all. So let's have a look at the fuel situation. I think we've got a good few laps to go yet for PM10. There's no reason for him to come in and start using up his tyres. RJ just the same, just above a quarter of a tank of fuel, same with P White. P White now sitting in 3rd. He has got Whitey behind him, so Whitey has managed to catch back up as we go on board with Whitey. He made that mistake earlier, didn't he? I think he was coming out of Ascari, and P White took full advantage of it. Oh, as P White gets the entry into Ascari wrong and goes very deep, that's really that's cost him a little bit of time, and he's picked up a penalty for his trouble. And it has also allowed Whitey to get right up underneath him and into the slipstream, so a good exit out of Parabolica is what Whitey's looking for, so he can get right underneath P White's rear wing, use the slipstream and maybe try and get in front before they hit turn 1. A quick look behind us, no pressure really from Vane. He's a little way off at the minute as Whitey starts to reel P White in. You know what, I don't think he's going to get close enough as they get towards turn 1. And he's not. He's going to have to stay behind P White, but that's not a problem for him really, even if you have to stay there for an entire lap. When P White serves that half second, if P White can stay where he is, then he's definitely going to move up into P3. So Whitey, all he's got to do really is just stay with P White. If he can get the move done, then all the better. But for now, he just needs to keep the pressure on P White. Try and force another mistake from him, try and increase that penalty even. Now then, let's just keep an eye on P White, shall we, as we come to turn 7. He doesn't really like this this turn. And there we go, as the pair of them go very deep into turn 7, but we get through it and we're still racing. Vane in 5th, he's definitely catching the 2 guys ahead of him. So yeah, keep an eye on that one. Grahamid on the hard tyres, still on the hard tyres. So he's probably going to run them until he needs to come in for fuel, I would guess. And then he's going to swap onto the softer compound. So a bit more to come from Grahamid. As I say, he's got the mediums and the softs to look forward to. Same with Steele, still running the hard tyres, although the fuel is looking very low now. So maybe thinking about one more lap and then coming in. Rufus up to P8 now, so a few mistakes from the 2 guys behind him, Kean and Pete, has allowed Rufus to catch up and move up to P8. Now then, we do have somebody coming into the pits, and it's Kean. Kean doesn't think he'll get one more lap out of that fuel tank, I think, so he's decided to come in. So first one into the pit lane is Kean. Pete stays out, and Dan playing catch up once again has stayed out and now moves up into P10 while Kean is in the pits getting a fresh set of boots and some fuel. Let's have a look at the situation for PM10 now then. He's well, it's entirely up to him. He really is commanding this race, isn't he? I think he could probably get one more lap out of that fuel tank. even though it's just started to flash. Whether he'll come in or not, let's have a look, shall we? I think he can afford to come in now, as we come around the exit of turn 11. No, I thought he's stayed out, and I thought he would. He can manage that little bit of fuel around for one more lap. Then RJ, he's definitely going to stay out. There's no reason for him to come in. He's got a bit more fuel, so he's looked after it slightly better than PM10, but the big difference is the gap between the two of them. And the other thing is PM10 hasn't used any of the overtake juice either, so that should come in handy later on in the race if he does come under a little bit of pressure. YT into the pits then, as we see on the left hand side. There's a few other guys starting to come in now. P White has stayed out, Mohammed has stayed out for one more lap. YT has decided no, it is time for fresh tyres. He is in, Vane is in, Rufus is in, Steele is in, so quite a flurry into the pits at the minute. Pete will definitely be coming in as well, as will Dan. Kian already made his stop, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get himself back up into around about 9th or 10th position. No, he's definitely not going to get 9th because Whitey is taking on fuel already, so he's probably looking at 10th, I think, for Kian, if he can get past Pete. Now Pete is just starting to take some fuel on board as Kian comes out of turn 11 and across the start finish line. Pete still taking on fuel. Kian goes through to take P10 as Kian puts a challenge in on Steele in actual fact. He's managed to get ahead of Steele and go up to P9. He's got Rufus in front of him in P8, so Kian is looking at moving up into P8, so that was worked out well for him, Kian, that early stop. He got the undercut. It's gained him a couple of spots, hasn't it? As we see on the left hand side, our race leader is into the pits, followed by P2 RJ, and I'm guessing that P White is going to be coming in as well. Yeah, he is. So the top three are into the pit. PM10 taking on fuel. He'll be back out again pretty soon. Mohammed is going to have to come in. Dan is definitely going to have to come in. So YT too far back actually to take the lead of this race. So I think it will be normal service resumed with PM10 back out in the lead of this race, having made his stop. Now out on a fresh set of soft tyres, so let's have a look at that fastest lap. It's a 1:30.7 at the minute, so it's be interesting to see how much time he can actually shave off of that. 1:37 is 1:30.7 should I say, is a very quick lap as it stands, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can how much more he can improve on that with these soft tyres. Going to use this out lap just to get some heat into them. In fact, what we'll do is, if we can remember, we'll keep an eye out and then we'll jump on board with PM10 for his second lap on the soft tyres. So RJS back out in P2. Nice gap between himself and P White in third. RJ out on the hard tyres. P White on the mediums. YT gets himself back up into fourth and chasing P White down. Remember, he was on the podium, wasn't he, at one point until he had that accident. I think we're coming out of Ascari, but YT has done a great job actually of getting himself back up into fourth. Now let's have a look. We said we were going to go on board with PM10, didn't we? So let's have a look, shall we, and see how it's done. So across the start finish line then, heading down the straight, 1100 metres of it from the exit of turn 11 up towards the entry of turn 1 as we hit into the braking zone, then into this right hander, then immediately into the left hander, back on the power as early as you can through that first chicane. Then it is this long sweeping right hand turn 3, trying to stay as close to that right hand side as you can. Up towards turns 4 and 5, which is the second of the chicane. Again, hard on the brakes, and you can see PM10 just manages to get wheels across that sausage curve. He didn't hit them, he just got across them. Into turn 6 then, a right hander. Turn 6 and 7, double right hander. Go into turn 7, just to damper the brakes and off the accelerator just to make sure he got that turn done. Then it is back on the noisy pedal again, all the way down the hill towards Ascari Ferrante, which is turns 8, 9 and 10. for the third of the chicanes. Using every inch of the track he can, getting his wheels on the curbs. Then it is power all the way through. Now then, let's have a look at the speed, shall we? Looking around about 175, is it? Yeah, 176, 7, just touching 177 miles an hour as we hit the braking zone into turn 11 at Parabolica, around that long right-hander, almost an extended hairpin, and then across the line for a 131.3. So those tyres not really up to temperature yet for PM10 to push for that fastest lap, but he's just so comfortable. It's just like a practice lap for him, isn't it? It just seems to be the same every week. Consistency, I think, is definitely the key. RJS is in second. He's under no pressure whatsoever. A big gap in front of him, a big gap behind him. P. White in third, also with a nice comfortable gap back to Grahamid, who is out now on the soft tyres and doing everything he can to catch up to the back of P. White, although he has got YT chasing him. YT trying to get back up onto the podium after he spilled quite a few laps ago, so he's had a good recovery, has YT. He's on those hard tyres as well, so I forgot what he was on earlier. But he has got some softer compounds to come anyway, whether it be the softs or the mediums. They're bound to be better than those hard things. Rufus has got himself up into 6. He had a disaster, didn't he, in the opening laps? Found himself all the way at the back with quite a gap between himself and the rest of the pack. But he's fought back as Rufus, as he does. He just gets his head down and gets on with it. And he's now found himself up there in 6th. He's on the soft tyres, so he can start pushing now. His last lap was a 1:33.4. So he can start pushing now, can Rufus. Vane in 7th, having a good race is Vane, although he's picked up that half a second penalty, and I'm guessing that was at turns 4 and 5, which is where most of the guys picking penalties up, but he's into 7th at the minute, and out on the hard tyres. Steele sitting there in 8th. Have we got anybody else that we can follow? Dandan in 10th. Well, it's been a disaster for Dandan, hasn't it? It just went from it went bad at the start, caught up a little bit, and then went even more bad, and now finds himself down there wallowing in P10 with Pete just behind him in 11th. Pete already had a few issues, hasn't he? Managed to get around turn 7 okay, but he's had his fair share of issues already this race, and now finds himself down in 11th. Well, he's actually got PM10 chasing him down, which is not unusual. PM10, I think last week he managed to lap most of the field actually. So yeah, he's going to be looking at lapping some of the guys this week as well. As I say, it's not unusual to see that happen. So let's have a look and see if we can find anybody that is battling. And they're all pretty much spread out, aren't they? I think the nearest I saw was Hamid trying to chase down P. White. So we've got no real action. I want to jump on board with somebody. Let's jump on board with Rufus. Let's annoy Rufus for a little bit, shall we? As we come around turn 7 and head down towards the Ascari. We can just see Whitey ahead of us. Well, he's little red lights anyway on the rear wing. Rufus on the soft tyres, so he will have a bit of an advantage going through these turns, and full throttle through there. Good on you, Rufus. We don't need brakes, do we? He's hit that overtake button, although he's got practically nothing left, so poor old Rufus has used it all up, but he's used it to good effect actually, because he has managed now to get himself up into P6, and he's not far off sniffing around the back end of YT. A quick look behind us, and there is an almighty gap back to Steele, so no pressure from behind at all for Rufus, so he is fixed firmly on YT just ahead of him as they come towards turns 1 and 2 at the first of the chicanes, and Rufus has managed to get himself there within touching distance of YT. Around turn 3 we go then. We're just going to stay with Rufus to see if we can catch up to the back of YT. We're definitely into the slipstream now as we start dragging YT in. YT trying to go defensive, but Rufus dives to the inside, and you know what, I think he's going to get this move done. Oh, he's just got across those curves, so let's just see if he picks a penalty up. I think he's got away with it. I think he's got away with it. So a great move there from Rufus. Use those tyres to good effect. Whitey on the hards cannot really do much about that. He was a bit of a sitting duck actually, and Rufus really making those softs work for him, and has now moved up into P5. Fantastic racing from these two guys. Whitey just conceded that those corners. He didn't want to get involved with Rufus, did he? There was no point. All he can do now is just try and stay within the slipstream of Rufus's car and keep up with him. He is on the hard tyres, Whitey, so Rufus does have the advantage going into these turns. So yeah, Whitey just trying to stay in the slipstream. In fact, we'll just stay with him before we get to just follow on through to turns 1 and 2 at the chicane, because Whitey is in the slipstream of Rufus. Now, obviously, tyre compounds are not going to make a massive difference when you're going in a straight line, but yeah, Rufus stays in front. So let's have a look and see what's happening elsewhere. Steele down in 7th. He's all on his lonesome. So he can just take his time through these turns, just concentrate on being consistent, which is what he's doing, and you can see his last 3 laps have all been 1:34s. So he's about 3.5 seconds off the pace of the fastest lap, which was done by PM10 at 1:30, but it is consistent, and that I have been told is the key, and that's what makes you quicker, just staying consistent, and the lap times will start to fall. Now then, we've got oh, is that Whitey going slowly? Why did we have a yellow flag? Oh, it was Whitey. Turn 6, out onto the kitty litter, a big old spin, a massive headbutt with barrier, and fortunately for him, he's ended up facing the right direction, gets the car going. He has got damage at the front, which we're just waiting for the nanobot to repair. As we come down to Ascari, he just needs to take his time, because the aero will be affected into these turns until that front wing is sorted out. And yeah, Whitey just a bit cautious through those turns. Anyway, all damage repaired now, and he can get back onto the pace. So having his fair share of issues is Whitey. Manages to hold on to P6 though. On those hard tyres, I bet he'll be glad to get in and get rid of them things. And well, he's going to stay out for now. Steele in 7th. That has brought him a little bit closer to Whitey. Let's have a look at the time, shall we? So just over the 27.5 minute mark. So about 13 minutes to go. 14 minutes. 23 minutes. I can't even count now, can I? It's a 50-minute race, of course it is. So it's about 23 minutes to go as we follow Steele through turn 1. So a lot of racing ahead of us yet, as both Kian and Vane decide to bump across those curbs. Not going to do the underside of the car much good. But Kian up to 8th, Vane in 9th. He was having a fantastic race, wasn't he, until he's gone onto those hard tyres, and they seem to have slowed him down a little bit. Dan in 10th. Well, I think he'll just be glad to see the back of Italy. Well, Dan started off with such promise. He was about, what was he, 3rd on the grid, 2nd or 3rd on the grid, I think. So yeah, he'll be glad to get on that plane and head off. Where are we going next? Let's have a look. Shall I have a look? Let's have a look. I'm not going to say, I can tell you, but oh, we're going to Germany. We're going to the Nürburgring. It doesn't tell me which one, but I'm guessing it's going to be the GP layout. They're not going to do the big nasty one, are they, in these cars? So I would imagine it's going to be the GP layout next week. And yeah, I'm sure Dan can't wait to get there. He just wants to say goodbye to Italy. You can keep your pizzas and your cannolis, and I'm off to Germany, says Dan. As Kian comes into the pits, he was one of the first guys to pit first time around. He's got a 1.5 second penalty as well to serve. So that's Kian into the pits. So Dan, fuel going into Kian's car. Dan in 10th at the minute, around turn 11. He's going to be pushing hard. He needs to get that P9, although this is going to be close. As Dan heads towards that start-finish line, Kian just about fueled up, but I think Dan's going to get there as Kian heads out of the pits now. Where is he? Where is he? Come on, there he is, yeah. So Guillen rejoins in 10th, but he has got 1.5 second penalty to serve. So Dan moves on through to P9. And where is Pete? Pete's in 11. Well, he's a bit of a long way off, isn't he? That's a long way off to the back of Guillen. And Pete is soon going to be caught by some of the other front runners. I think PM10 has already got past him. It's hard to tell where PM10 is actually when he starts lapping people. He's that far ahead. But if you look at the top right then at the map, you can see the little red triangle. That's PM10. And then down to P White in second. There we go. They'll just give each other a wave across the stands as P White goes through turn 1 and PM10 goes through turns 8, 9 and 10 at Ascari. So that is the gap. So PM10 just cruising along as he likes to do. He can take care of the tyres, look after a bit of the fuel. He's got maybe 2 more laps left before he has to come in and change those tyres. I think will he be going on to the mediums? I think he's already done the hards, hasn't he? Started to use the overtake now. I don't know if you noticed, but he started to hit that overtake before it actually come out of the exit of turn 11. So he was using it halfway around turn 11. And that's probably the difference, actually, getting on the power so early. Have a look. Grahamid has made his way up into third. So Grahamid on the soft tyres, just under a quarter of a tank of fuel, has managed to get by RJ. RJ on those hard tyres, so obviously struggling. And Grahamid has made full use of his tyres in this middle section of the race and has moved up into P3. So come on, Grahamid. We would like to see him on the podium. We always like to see Grahamid on the podium. It's a good race when Grahamid gets a glass of champagne shoved in his hand at the end of the race. RJS in 4th as we see Rufus in 5th. He's dived into the pits now. He's had to come in because of the fuel. So change of tyres and a fill up for Rufus. Now could this be his his second and final stop? I'm not sure. Steely's in as well. Let's have a look. Dan, where is he? Oh, he's quite a way off. I don't think Dan is going to manage to leapfrog the 2 guys ahead of him. Rufus, the fuel is going in already, so I think Rufus will get out onto the track back in P5. Dan just coming around Parabolica now as he exits turn 11. Fuel going into Steele's car. Rufus is back out on track in P5. Steele, oh, he's fueled up now, but Dan does get past, so Dan moves up into 6th as Steele couldn't get out the pits quick enough. He's exited now and out in P7, but Dan has already gone through. Vane in P8 couldn't quite get close enough, so he's going to have to sit behind Steele now in 8th at the minute. Kian is in 9th with Pete just coming around turn 11, and he's got to go into the pits as well because that fuel light is flashing, so he's going to be struggling to make it to the end of this lap if he carried on. So yeah, quite rightly so, Pete is into the pits now. And there we can see the fastest lap has come down again. It is PM10 on those soft tyres as predicted. He's now got a 129.3, which is going to take some beating. Really is. Well, he's used all of his overtake and he's not sparing the horses at all, is he? As we come into Ascari, you can just see at the bottom there the fuel light's flashing, so he's just got to be a little bit careful. He'll just about make it back to the pit lane, I think, before he runs out of fuel. Or is he going to run out of fuel and just coast into the pit lane? Well, he can afford to do that. The gap is that big around the final turn. Let's just keep an eye on that fuel as it just about runs out as he enters the pit lane. And in we go, there we go, just ran out of fuel as he came into the pit lane, so he judged that one to perfection. So PM10 into the pit, look at those guys, like coiled springs ready to pounce. P White in second, where is he? Well, he's a long way off, isn't he? So PM10 is not going to get caught, but P White has got to go into the pit anyway. But P White, he doesn't need to worry about what PM10's doing, he just needs to concentrate on holding on to that second spot on the podium, and he will be pleased with that. And yeah, why not? Mohammed in third also has got to make a pit stop, but he's got a good old gap back to RJ. RJ has made his stop. He's now out on the soft tyres and a full tank of fuel. So this is going to be a good race between Mohammed, I think, and RJS as P. White comes into the pit. Mohammed stays to the right hand side and dives into the pit. Let's just stay with this pit crew, shall we, and just see how quick they are. Look at them. They're just, I can't believe how excited the guys are to see the car pull off. But there we go. One wheel off, one wheel on. And now the fuel man, the rest of them just standing down there watching him. Mohammed sitting in that car shouting at them, come on, bloody fuel in, will you? It is so desperately long while you are sat there waiting to get moving, and you can see the P. White is in as well. Let's have a look now then. P. White, he's in and out again. So P. White is out in second. RJ has managed to get past Mohammed, who is still sat in the pits. Oh no, he's on his way out now. So Mohammed rejoins in fourth position. And on the medium tyres now then, is that going to be enough? We've got about 15 minutes of this race to go. No, 14 minutes of this race to go. So that could be enough for Mohammed to take him to the end of the race. RJ on the soft tyres, just under a full tank of fuel now then. This is going to be interesting because he may well be able to make it to the end of the race as well. P. White definitely should make it to the end of the race, full tank of fuel on the soft tyres. This is going to be an interesting run in between these these three anyway. P. White, RJS and Mohammed fighting for 2 steps on the podium. Rufus in fifth. He's got the hard tyres for the last stint, unless he just does a couple of laps and then comes in to change it onto the soft. So I don't think anybody's doing a 3-stop, to be honest. Not that I've noticed anyway. Steele in 6. He's on the soft tyres, and well, fuel wise I think he may be okay, as will Vane. Kian might have to come in for a bit of fuel. We'll keep an eye on that one. Dan, he'll be okay to the end of the race, but he just cannot wait till it finishes. And then Pete on the hard tyres now then. Pete, is that a bit of lag there? As he allows P. White to lap him, Pete just tries to stop Dot in there and pick up a bit of slipstreaming, and why wouldn't you actually? He has got RJS just behind him. He'll be looking at trying to get past as well pretty quickly. And Pete, well, he's a good driver, he's a sensible driver, so he'll find a nice safe place, and he'll allow RJS to go by as well. He's not going to do it at the chicane, is he? So maybe after turn 7, Pete, oh there we go, he's already moved over just before they got to turn 6. So like I say, Pete knows the score. Good sensible driver is Pete, so doesn't want to hold up RJS. Obviously RJ is fighting for a podium at the minute, and he's got Mohammed chasing him down. P. White in second, RJ in third. Where is Mohammed? Mohammed is on his way down the hill towards the scoring side. Bit of a gap at the minute between himself and RJ. Let's have a look at the tyre situation. RJ is on the soft, so Mohammed on the medium. So I think RJ at the minute is looking quite comfortable. So the top 3 at the minute, PM10, P. White and RJS all looking very comfortable for the podium finish. Mohammed, he's going to push. He will keep pushing all the way to the end. Will Mohammed, just hoping for a mistake from one of the guys up ahead. Then we've got Rufus in 5th. What a fantastic recovery Rufus has had. If you remember at the start of the race, after about the first couple of laps, he was right at the back, and there was quite a gap between himself and the rest of the grid, and he's managed to fight his way back and up into 5th position. So fantastic racing from Rufus, who just seems to get better and better and better with every race. So that's Rufus in 5th. On the hard tyres as well, so he's going to see them out to the end of the race, I'm sure, as we fast approach the last 10 minutes. Steele sitting in 6th. He's under no real pressure at all, as is Vane. Vane's had a good race. I think Vane can be quite pleased with the race he's had here at Monza. He was up there in, where was it, 4th, 5th, something like that in the early stages of this race. Pit stops have dropped him down just a little bit, but even so, I still think he's had a good race. Dan in 8th, well, as I've said on many occasions, I think he'll be just glad to see the back of this race, and look forward to going to Germany next week. Started up there in the top 3, and a couple of disasters have cost him, and he's now battling for 8th position there with Kian just behind him. Kian struggled very early on in this race to get that car under control. He's now on the hard tyres as well, so that's going to be an even bigger fight for Kian. But it looks like he's calmed down a little bit. He just needed to take a breath and gain his composure, let the car do the work. I think he was just fighting it too much. But now sitting in P9 with Pete in 10th. Now then, we've lost one. Who have we lost? We've lost one. Is it? I think it's Whitey. So Whitey did have some problems earlier, didn't he? If I remember, quite a few laps ago, he came through a scar and just went straight on into the barrier. And then he had another couple of spins. So I think Whitey has got some issues with the car or something, and has now had to retire. So that's a shame for Whitey. He was up there, wasn't he, fighting for a decent position and some good points in this race. So what a shame for him. But we are now down to 10. Let's have a look and see what's happening as PM10 lapped Dan in P8. So PM10 just doing his thing. He's so far in front, we don't actually know where he is on track compared to everybody else. All we know is he's passed Dan. So it's difficult to keep up with PM10. He's got the fastest lap. I think that's in the bag, to be honest. That's a 1:29.3. I can't see anybody else beating that, apart from Dan himself. But he is on the hard tyres. Sorry, PM10 himself, but he is on the hard tyres. So even that's a big ask even for him. P White in 2nd. With RJS not that far behind actually, so let's jump on board with RJ as we try and keep up with P White, and if we can get into the slipstream, you know what, I think RJ is going to challenge P White for that 2nd spot on the podium. Quick look behind, and Grahamid is just not there at the minute. Can we see him in the distance as we come into the first of the chicanes at turns 4 and 5? Oh, and he's picked up half a second. That is going to put a smile on P White's face as he gets told about that by his race director over the radio. They will just be telling P White, just do what you're doing, don't worry about RJ. He's got half a second penalty, which he's probably going to be serving this lap actually. Again, a quick look behind us and we can't see Grahamid, so no real pressure on RJS. I think the penalty has come from a self-inflicted mistake, trying to push too hard to catch up to the back of P White. Now that these, I've smashed the microphone again. Now that these cars are so quick at gaining speed, then when you serve that half second, yeah, of course it drops you off the back of the car in front, but not by a massive amount. But as I say, P White is going to have a big smile on his face after that. Penalty being served by RJ as we go across the start-finish line to start lap 28. So what do we think? About 32 laps for this race. We've got, 6.5 minutes of this race left. I'm not trying to do the math. We've got a few laps left anyway. Excuse me. Let's have a look and see if there are any battles taking place. Now then, Grahamid on the medium tyres with half a tank of fuel, which should see him to the end of the race. Steele just over a quarter of a tank on the softs. Dear me, I really need to have a drink, get rid of this fog, don't I? I really do apologise for it. Not sure what's causing that. Now then, we've got a yellow flag. Was it Grahamid? Or is there somebody else spinning around all over the place? I can't see anything. So it may have been a mistake by one of the guys, but very, very quickly recovered. It may have been Grahamid in 4th, Steele is in 5th. I can't see anything on the map. Bain in 6th, all very spread out now. Rufus in 7th. Kian is back into the pits again. He's just had enough of those hard tyres, I think. He's also picked up another penalty as Kian comes back out and rejoins in P9 on a fresh set of soft tyres, which will take him to the end of the race. So Kian just trying, oh dear me, got that on a reset as well. He got that turn one all sorts of wrong, didn't he? As he pulls over to allow P White through. What a shame, Kian. I think he just came out of the pit lane too quickly, just couldn't get the car slowed down. And he's now being lapped by the guys ahead of him. So PM10 still out in front. P White has managed to get by Kian. He's in second with just under 4.5 minutes to go. Just over 4.5 minutes, sorry. RJS is in third. So those three looking good for the podium finish. Grahamid doing everything he can to catch up, but the gap is just too big at the minute, I think. He's just waiting for a mistake from one of the guys up ahead of him. But he will keep on going. Steele is in fifth, Rufus sixth. And yeah, everybody spread out. What's happening with the guys behind? Now then, do we have a battle on our hands? Oh no, it's PM10. Well, we've got one really with Vane in seventh and Dandan in eighth. And Vane is, it looks like he's putting a challenge in on PM10 actually, as they come up towards the chicane. Now Vane is not going to get involved with, surely. I really thought that Vane was going to get involved with PM10 then, and that would have been a disaster. But while Vane is actually trying to allow PM10 to get by and move on, oh, and he's made a mistake. Dandan goes through. I think Vane was just, he was concentrating on PM10 and trying not to collide with him. It kind of put him off his stride a little bit. That allowed Dandan to catch up, and then poor old Vane just got it all wrong coming out of turn 6 and 7, and Dandan goes on through and takes P7. So Dandan trying to recover something from this race. He's into the slipstream of PM10 and getting a bit of a free tow down the straight towards turn 11. It just looks like PM10's going slowly, isn't it? Why is PM10 going so slowly? He's got plenty of fuel. He's on the hard tyres, but that really shouldn't bother him that much. I thought he was going to come in then. So, yeah, Dandan is, where is he? There he is. Dandan is just sitting in the slipstream of PM10. Now, that whether PM10 is just trying to save a bit of fuel or whether he just fancies having a race with somebody, I don't know. But he is inadvertently sort of holding the other guys up. As daft as that sounds, he's lapped everybody. And he did get, well, yeah, it's a difficult one to call, but I think he did get in the way of Vane. I think Vane was trying to escape Dandan. The gap was there. He was trying to get away from Dandan, and you can see that Dandan is right up the rear end of PM10, which is not where he needs to be. He needs PM10 to just get a bit of a hurry up and get out of his way. I mean, Dandan's picking up a bit of a tow, but the problem with that is he's then going to have to challenge PM10 to unlap himself. He doesn't want to get involved in a race with PM10. What he's trying to do is open up a big enough gap between himself and Vane that he's not going to get overtaken. So yeah, this is a bit of a funny one. It's usually the back markers holding the front guys up, but the situation we've got at the minute is the front guy holding the back markers up. As I've never come across this before. Now then, PM10 has decided to get his foot down and open up a bit of a gap, unless it is just Dandan easing off a little bit, but he can't afford to do that much because Vane is coming. Although, oh no, the Vane, well, he stayed out. Do you know, Vane, I'm not so sure you're going to make it to the end of this lap. Is he not concentrating on his fuel gauge? We've got, oh, where are we now? We're into the last minute. So this is going to be the last lap for Vane, but he's got to be careful he doesn't run out of fuel. So PM10 then, well, he's allowed Dandan through. So PM10 has allowed Dandan to pass him, and Dandan can get on with his own race now. Like I say, he really didn't want to get involved in a race with PM10. That's not the guy he's racing. So PM10 inadvertently holding up the back markers. I've never seen anything like it. P White is in second. He should be okay now till the end of the lap. So is what we got now then. We've got about 25 seconds to go. as Grahamid starts to put some pressure. Oh, I was going to say starts to put some pressure on Pete, but Pete's in 10th anyway. So Grahamid goes through, still sitting in 4th. And let's have a look at the gap. I'm not so sure, but oh, now then, this is interesting because RJ has now got to start looking at that fuel gauge. So can Grahamid catch up with him? As well, I don't know who that was, but somebody's decided to clear out those number boards. We are on the final lap. Where is PM10? He's just coming around. We're going to follow him through. He's just coming around Parabolica for the final time. So PM10, fantastic racing as always, as we see some of the guys cross the line, but PM10 across the line to take the win. P White is in 2nd, so is anybody else going to finish? Steele and Dan have already finished in 6th and 7th as we're following P White. Oh, who's that's going to cross the line? It is Vane's going to cross the line in 8th. Then it is going to be P White, then he's going to be crossing the line next as he comes around turn 11 for the final time. Then good racing from P White. A deserved glass of champagne waiting for him. RJ, good racing from RJ as well. He'll just about make it across the line. I think even if he runs out of fuel now, he should have enough momentum to carry him across to take that final spot on the podium. So well done to those 3 guys. Grahamid did everything he could, but crosses the line, carrying a 1.5 second penalty, so that could drop him down. It depends where Rufus is. Rufus, will he? Yeah, he's serving his penalty, so Grahamid should be okay for 4th. Rufus is going to be 5th. Steele 6th, Dan 7th, Vane is 8th, Kim finished 9th, Pete will finish 10th, and we'll just follow Rufus across the line. And Whitey retired. Excuse me, I do apologise for all the choking I've been doing this morning. So across the line goes Rufus, and everybody's finished now. Yes, what a great race. Complete domination by PM10 again, but congratulations to P White and RJS on getting 2nd and 3rd. Some great racing there from the guys. As I say, next week we are in Germany at the Nürburgring, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the GP layout. So join me then. I will look forward to seeing you all then. In the meantime, take care. Catch you soon.